internet, my name is Chloe. Today we're going to talk about every book I've read in January and February. Now, I did not do a January one because I only read like 4 books in January. They were thick. I didn't feel like that needed a recap, but I read like 8 books in February. I went a little demonic, so I'm on my 13th book of the year, and it's only the end of February, so we're gonna go over everything I've read so far, my ratings, my thoughts, if I recommend, that type of vibe. And every one of these books is in my TBR video. Actually, that's not true. Most of these books are in my 25 books for 2025 video, so if you want to watch that, you can go ahead and peek over it there real quick. Before we start, I'm gonna point your attention towards my new Emily Henry collection. If you guys know me, you know that I love Emily Henry, my favorite author to date. I ended up getting the entire collection. I did already have Happy Place as a gift, and you can only get Funny Story in hard copy, but then I ended up going for a mixture because I'm a paperback girly, so they aren't all the same. Anyway, my favorite book series, Fourth Wing ACOTAR, now we have Emily Henry! So my book buying journey in January did go well, and now I need to stop because my wallet can't handle it, but my heart is so happy. So, speaking of Emily Henry, I pre-ordered A Great Big Beautiful Life, and in April we're gonna do an Emily Henry journey, and we're gonna read all those on a vlog, and I'm so excited. So, if you love Emily Henry and you wanna come back for that, don't forget to subscribe down below so you don't miss it, and let's get into the video. The first book of the year that I read was Iron Flame. I read Fourth Wing right at the end of last year, so first book of this year was Iron Flame. Yeah, I really did that to myself, but it was a 4-star read. My Goodreads review, and I quote, "Ms. Yaros, are you serious?" with like 7 question marks. That's how we felt about that. Yeah, started off the year strong with Iron Flame. Loved it. I really wish that I read Fourth Wing to start with because I did give myself a solid like 2 weeks between Iron Flame and Onyx Storm, and I wish I didn't do that because I was dying the whole time. So, in the meantime, between Iron Flame and Onyx Storm, I started the Crescent City series. So my second book of the year was House of Earth and Blood. I rated that one 4 stars. It was pretty good. It took a long time to get into it. Like, there was so much world building in the beginning. I felt like a lot of explanation happened, and then some of that didn't really end up being necessary later on. As you can see, I love Miss Sarah J. Maas. Throne of Glass is my top series of all time. So when I read House of Earth and Blood, I was like, it didn't change my life. I think the series as a whole was pretty good. House of Earth and Blood made me cry, which is always an automatic 4-star. So yeah, it was a journey for sure. My review was not as life-changing as Throne of Glass, but I enjoyed the read. The length of this book versus the amount of action was heavily redeemed by the last 150 pages, which were amazing. This book could have been 3/4 as long as it is. Hot take, maybe, but could have been shorter. The info dump in the first handful of chapters alone is overwhelming, and most info is not necessary right away, so I was flipping back to the beginning a lot, trying to remember the explanation from earlier on. I don't normally read at this quick of a pace, but I was putting in work to get to the end, and boy was I very fortunately not disappointed. So, the end of the book was worth the read, but would I go back and read it again? No, so it can't be a 5-star book, because that's one of the criteria normally is like, if I would pick it up again. It's not about the length of the book. I would read this whole series again, and I'm going to, but Crescent City, like, it just didn't really do it for me, you know? I wish I could, like, skim it and just read the really good parts again. I still think Crescent City is like a maybe at this point. I think you should read Throne of Glass first if you haven't read it. Right after House of Earth and Blood, I started House of Sky and Breath. I read like half of it, but Onyx Storm came out. And if you want to watch my Onyx Storm reading vlog, not to keep on plugging my own videos, but if you really want to know like the full reaction that I had to that one and the full review, that would be in that vlog. I did rate it 5 stars. It was amazing, incredible. I had a great time. I binge read it. And I will be going back and reading Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm again before the next book comes out. I'm just gonna wait till like later this year, next year, because I know it's gonna take a while. And I'm gonna need something to kind of like tide me over. But my review of Onyx Storm was, distress does not begin to cover it, name an emotion, and I bet I'm feeling it. I cried, I laughed. Riddick really came through in this book for the comedic relief, otherwise I would have been like tense the entire time. Riddick became much higher on like my book besties list, but Xaden remains below Reese on my book boyfriends list, so it's okay though, because they're like neck and neck and they're way up at the top there. Like the next person is really far, I don't even know who it is. It's probably someone from one of these books, but, oh, Rowan, oh my god. Reese, Xaden, Rowan are all fighting each other up there, and then I don't know who comes after that. Anyway, after that, I went back to finish House of Sky and Breath, and I think I needed the break between the first half and the second half because I would have, I fear, gone back into the same thing that happened in the first book, and I would have felt like I was like working to get through the book. But yeah, no, I'm glad I went back and finished it. The ending went crazy, guys. Wild. I only rated it 3 stars though, because I did not like it as much as the first book. Let me explain why. So in the third book, I read right after that, House of Flame and Shadow. This is the first book that we go into February for, so I read it like at the end of January to the beginning of February. House of Flame and Shadow was so good in like the last 50%. The first 50% was also good, but I did give it a 4.5. In the third book, I felt like the distribution of action was a lot better. The second book, like, nothing happens until the end. Oh my god, it took me forever. It's just a lot of characters and like a lot of explanation, a lot of like build up. I don't know. It was all right, but like I definitely won't be going back and reading the second book again. I'd probably go from like first to third, or like just read the end of the second book. The second book I did not review. The third book I rated 4.5 and said such a good ending to the trilogy. So yeah, but did it change my life? No. Was it fun to read? Yeah. The action was fun to read. Probably not something I'll be going back, just because it's like so dense and it doesn't really pay off. The denseness of the book does not pay off in action. It's like conversations and building up and explanation, and that's just like not my style of reading. Like I want to be laughing or crying or like, you know, on the edge of my seat, and it just didn't really have me like that. If you've read Throne of Glass and you feel like finishing out, you know, you've read ACOTAR and Throne of Glass and you want to read Crescent City, I would recommend, because it's Sarah J. Maas, you know. It's not bad. The lowest I rated it was 3 stars, but the highest I rated it was 4.5, so. Okay, so now that we're in February, we're gonna get into the feral reading I was doing in February. I didn't read less in January, it's just that all of those books are like at least 500 pages, or maybe up to 700 pages, 800 pages. So I was reading a lot. It just, the number of books was less, but the pages probably the same amount. So in February, I read the Lightlark series, so the trilogy that's published up until now. The first book I rated 3.75. I thought it was really good. I'll just read my review to start with. So 3.75 stars. My main complaint throughout reading was that the writing style was very simple and light. It's very much a YA novel. Every thought is written and repeated, so you can easily connect it all together by the ending. But while I could predict some of the ending along the way, the details of the plot twist and the lore behind it were much more developed than I expected, and I very much enjoyed the last quarter of the book. So, reading Lightlark, the writing style is not totally for me. I felt like it was a little bit like, after reading Crescent City, which is so like, you have to get there on your own, and then going to a book where they literally like copy paste lines in italics so that you can remember that they said this one thing that connects to what's happening, you know. They really spell it out for you, and I just kind of felt like I didn't need that. Sometimes I was glad I had it, because like it would be a smaller thing, but some of the lines were like something I had already underlined or highlighted earlier on, so I like remembered it, and then they like wrote it again. I don't think it was unnecessary. I just think it speaks to like, I'm 27, right? And I think that like the audience is younger than that, which is great. It was a great book, okay? Don't get me wrong. I did love reading it. I felt like it wasn't as elevated as like these books that are aimed at like people in their 20s. I don't know if I explained that well. Don't come for me for that. But like, it was giving like a Cruel Prince writing style vibe, and I liked the Cruel Prince. Like, I liked Lightlark. I'm not saying I dislike it. I'm just saying the reason I bumped it down a little was because of that, and that's my only complaint. The rest of it was so good. I saw some of the end coming, but I didn't know the reasons behind why it happened, and those reasons went crazy. So the end of Lightlark unveils a whole new plot line for Nightbane. Like, I was not expecting any of that. I also had not read a love triangle book. I don't even know the last time I read a love triangle book. Like, maybe The Summer I Turned Pretty, I think, which was, I read that like 10 years ago. Oh, I was shocked. Like, I forgot how much I love love triangles. Usually I have such a clear decision. Like, I was Team Jacob. I'm still Team Jacob, but Lightlark, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know who I liked better. Lightlark basically threw me for a loop at the end. I went right into Nightbane. You know I had that B ready. Nightbane, I loved. The entire book, I ate that up. I read it so fast. I thought we were gonna know who she picks by the end of Nightbane. Hate to break it to you, spoiler alert, we don't, okay? End of the third book, we still don't know. The second book, Nightbane, I rated it 4 stars. I have many conflicting emotions with that ending. I don't know where my loyalties lie. I have not read a love triangle book in a long time, and I'm so stressed out by it, but in the best way. The writing style was very much improved in this book compared to the first. I found the simplicity of the writing almost distracting in the first book, especially when things were repeated or emphasized, but I appreciated it in this book since the time jumping in the plot made the read more complex. A very fun read that I'll be adding to my recommendation list. The second book, the plot gets more intense and complicated, and it's jumping between past and present. So then when they would repeat things for me, I actually really appreciated this time. I was like, this is when we need it, okay? I highly recommend Nightbane. Like, I don't know if anyone will read Lightlark and not want to go into Nightbane because I really liked it, but I think you should still read Nightbane because, ooh, that book was good. Oh my god, yeah. Yes. If anything, read Lightlark to get to Nightbane because that one got me. That one got me hooked on this series. And because I liked Nightbane so much, I'm going to read Lightlark 4. Not so much because of Skyshade. So when I read Skyshade, I rated it 3.75. Most of this book was a 2.75 to 3. The second half was a 3.5 to 4 star. This book felt rushed to me. I found a few typos throughout, and the first half of the book was so dry and slow. The second half redeemed it, really the last 25%. Nightbane is definitely my favorite of the 3 so far. I think this book is worth reading to continue the series. So like I said, Nightbane is carrying me over to book 4. I haven't looked any of this up, the timeline, but what I get from that book is like, Nightbane must have blown up because I feel like they rushed Alex to finish Skyshade and publish it while Lightlark and Nightbane were still being really popular on TikTok or whatever. And I kind of felt like the book got pushed really fast because I found typos like the wrong pronouns or like just a word that like is still a word but not the word it was supposed to be, a word missing from a sentence, stuff like that. And I feel like it just wasn't as combed through as Nightbane, and Skyshade disappointed me in the sense that like the timeline was so short and it was so dragged out in the first half. The second half really picked up, and the last quarter was so insane. My complaint with Isla, the main female character, is that she comes off as being a victim to her situation a lot of the time. She doesn't like grab the situation, take it over, and like fix it. She kind of is like drowning in it a little, and then she'll get a lead on a way to fix it, which is clearly a very dangerous lead that she should take a companion with to go do. Doesn't tell anyone, goes and does it, and then is like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Like literally near death situation every time. And I'm like, girl, how have we not learned by like the 4th time? Like, I'm just reading the same thing over and over. You don't really see as much growth in that book. Like, I thought the growth from Lightlark to Nightbane was really good, and then I felt like it kind of regressed in terms of like her personal character growth. The end of Skyshade went wild, and I finally was like rooting for Isla finally. She really like changed my mind at that end. So if you're willing to stick through it, and if you love Nightbane, just stick through Skyshade because it was worth it. And then after reading Skyshade and just kind of not loving it, I needed a little tiny palette cleanser, so I had gotten The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez as a Prime reading freebie. I didn't really rate it because it's a novella, it's super short. I did review it though, so I wrote, a quick and cute hour-long read with deep topics packed in and tied up nicely. Abby could have made this an entire book, but I appreciated the short form as it got right to the point and still had the humor I love in Abby's writing. I only wish it was a little longer during the climax since that was only about 2 pages, but it was a good palette cleanser between reads. I was reading all these complex fantasy series and I was like, you know what, before I go into the next one, I need a cute little romance break. It was good. I think I wouldn't not recommend it. It was really cute. It had me laughing. I love Abby as a writer, so I liked it. The ending isn't quite as satisfying because it just ties up really nicely because it's a short read. So like I said in the review, the climax is literally like 2 Kindle pages. It builds up and then I feel like the climax didn't totally like satisfy me, and then the ending was really cute. And then after that, I read First Time Caller, which, oh my god, I could not recommend this book more. I love First Time Caller. Oh, I had no idea what this book was about. I went on the waitlist at the library as soon as I knew it was dropping. I got it on release and I read it and could not put it down. It was 5 stars. I stayed up late reading this book. Like, I have not read a 5-star romance in a long time. Okay, probably the last one I read was Funny Story. Like, and that came out probably a year ago. Oh gosh, this is going right on my recommendation list next to all of these. This is the closest I've gotten to this feeling that Emily Henry has given me. I love it. If you like romance, read First Time Caller. My review starts with, God, I love a good romance. This book had me laughing and crying and kicking my feet and hee-heeing. Such a unique premise with so many cute and minute details that come back at the best times. One of the better romances I've read, and I've read a lot of romance. Guys, I've read a lot of romance, okay? It takes a lot to like pull me into that 5-star romance range. This one was 5 through and through, so good. It's a single mom romance. It's a little bit of Grumpy Sunshine, friends to lovers type of vibe. The growth that the individual characters go through is so good to read, and I just was like, the whole time. Like, I loved it. I had not stayed up past my bedtime, like peeling my eyes awake to keep reading in a long time, and I did that with this book because I had to know what happened. So good. I don't know, I couldn't recommend it more. If you're a romance girly, read First Time Caller. Next book I read was Quicksilver. I know this book is like super highly rated on TikTok and stuff and like raved about. I've heard a lot of people recommend it. It's a 4.42 on Goodreads, but I rated it 3. I don't know if this just like wasn't for me, but the first 50% just didn't grab me. Like, I almost actually put it down, and I never DNF books because I'm stubborn and I need to know what happens, but oh my god, like, this is a case of like me not DNFing because I needed to know what happened. Normally I read for the vibes. I don't really analyze things that hard, and I still felt like I didn't in this book, but even I could see things that like didn't work and that I didn't totally like. Let me just start with my review. I never DNF books because I'm stubborn, but the thought crossed my mind multiple times up until like the 50% mark. After that, it got better and the ending went pretty crazy, enough to where I'll probably pick up the next book when it comes out, but it's nothing I'm highly anticipating. This book mostly had me sticking with it because it made me want to reread ACOTAR. I don't know what it is about a male main character that wields shadows and darkness, but my top book boyfriends are Reese and Zayden. Oh my god. Kingfisher just didn't do it for me. First of all, the name Kingfisher, I couldn't. I'm sorry. I couldn't do it. I thought Ceres was a good main character. Like, I had no complaints with her. It was like everyone around her that I didn't like that much. Yeah, the storyline, the plotline is good, but yeah, it just made me want to read ACOTAR. It was so similar to ACOTAR. Unlike ACOTAR, the world building took so long. Like I said, I almost put it down in the first 50%. Like, nothing was really happening, and I was bored. I was disappointed too because I really wanted to like this book. The ending was good, and it wasn't a cliffhanger per se. Like, they kind of just tell you what happens and then they stop. It's not really the same as Onyx Storm where you're left like questioning and devastated and you have no idea what happened. I will pick up the second book at some point. I'm not gonna like drop everything I'm doing and read the second book when it comes out. This book is like a maybe on my recommendation list. It's just not for me. I fear. I didn't feel like the progression between relationships was natural. It kind of felt like it jumped forward a lot. I don't know. I just didn't really see the connection there. I'm trying not to spoil anything. I really liked Carrion. To a certain extent. There were a few things he was doing that I didn't like. I think maybe you should read it. I think you should pick it up and see what you think because, like I said, I think maybe this book just isn't for me. It was a 3-star, and I kind of felt like that was maybe a tiny bit generous, but I'm not even, like, I'm so nice to books. I rarely rate things under a 3, okay? 3 is, like, my bare minimum, but, like, oh, that was a little difficult. To end our January, February recap on a happy note, I follow a writer on Instagram, Bestie Paige Kent, and I read a beta read for her, which does not have a finalized title, but I beta read A Small Town Romance, and oh, it was so good. Guys, I read that book in a day and a half. I think she said it was like 77,000 words. It was like 300 something Word document pages. Oh boy, guys, if she ever releases that book somewhere, I'll be letting you know. Like, it was so good. I also felt so smart as a beta reader. I was like, oh my god, I'm noticing things, guys. I have constructive feedback. Like, I told her I absolutely loved it. I ate it up. It was so good. But no, that girl is a writer, and yeah, so if you don't follow Paige Kent on Instagram, I'll include it. But oh god, it was good. It was so good. I love a good romance, guys. I love a good small town romance. And if you have a small town romance that you want to recommend, please put it in the comments. I'm going into my Elsie Silver phase soon, and I'm so excited. Speaking of what I'm gonna read, let's go into my March TBR, March and April TBR. In March, I'm going into my Anna Huang phase. I'm halfway through Twisted Love, and I like it a lot. So I have a feeling I'm gonna like the rest of the books in Twisted series, and then I'm gonna go into King of Wrath, because the next book in that series comes out sometime in March, I think, or April. So I'm reading Twisted Love, then I'm going to read Twisted Games and Twisted Hate and Twisted Lies, and then I'm going to go into King of Wrath and all of those books, and all of those books are on my 25 for 2025, so I'm really excited to break that down some more because I threw in a couple wild cards this month, and then we'll see where I am by the end of March, because in April I'm planning to do an Emily Henry journey. I'm gonna vlog it because I love Emily Henry. I know I said this already, but I love her so much. I'm gonna do an extended reading vlog of reading every Emily Henry book. Besides these, there's a couple I've never read, some of her first publishes. We're gonna lead that up to A Great Big Beautiful Life coming out, and we're gonna read that to finish it off. And if you want to do it with me, don't miss the vlog. If you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I will definitely be updating you there. My Instagram and TikTok are down below. So yeah, we got a solid like 20 books to read in the next 2 months. We're gonna see how much I can read in the next 2 months because I have no end in sight. I'm fairly reading, okay? Thank you guys for watching this video. If you read any of these books I just mentioned, let me know. If you've read them, let me know your thoughts because I know some of them had like not the most positive reviews. I have positive thoughts about every book I read in this list, but yeah, some of them are just, they're just not my favorite. Please tell me your thoughts because sometimes it's just I'm missing something and I get that. Thank you guys so much for being here. Love you so much. I will see you in the next one. Stay cozy.